3 shall be the number thou shalt count, and the number of the counting shall be 3. 4 shalt thou not count, neither count thou 2, excepting that thou then proceed to 3.
4. The binary RPK. You guys asked for it, so who am I to deny? We delivered. Just a quick disclaimer, this is going to be a relatively short video today because, well, to be honest, we shot the majority of the ammunition allotment filming the intro of the video. No, but seriously, I thought that we would spend a little bit of time just talking about the binary trigger, what it is not, and what I think that it is good for. So, for anybody who isn't paying attention, the binary trigger is a trigger that has some added functionality to it. So to demonstrate, we're just going to go ahead and put some hearing protection on real quick. Go ahead and charge them up. And the binary trigger has two functions. Or I suppose you could say it's a selector, so it has three functions. So we have safe, nothing happens. And then we go down to semi, one click, and one round per trigger pull. Also, per function of the trigger, if we go down to the binary mode, one more click, we get one round per function of the trigger, but it is a double functioning trigger. So if we line up, we shoot one round on the pull, and then you'll notice I have the trigger trapped to the rear. When I let off, it fires a second round. That is the binary trigger, and it is currently mounted inside of this AS-10B. If you want to see a full video on the AS-10B, then we have that. You guys can find it linked in the description box down below. It's essentially a Romanian manufactured RPK. Now, the only thing I will say about this gun is it is not concentrically bored. It was a little bit close on some of the cans that we've tried on it. I wanted to remark on the binary trigger. Some people see this as a rate enhancing device, and I don't think that that's really the true value of the binary trigger. Yes, you can absolutely get this thing cooking if you so choose. So one round per function of the trigger, so it's absolutely not a machine gun, and we did stack one next to a real machine gun, and we can see that the speed test shows that it is definitely left wanting when it comes to that comparison.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
The concussion off of that is fucking unbelievable.
So if you are under the impression that this is some kind of device to get around the NFA regulations or Gun Control Act regulations, then please be quiet. You really don't know what you're talking about, and you're actually making yourself look very foolish. Now, what do I think the thing is really useful for? And that is that I'm going to reference another product that I believe is simultaneously the coolest and dumbest product that I have ever had the pleasure/displeasure of shooting, and that is the Crisp Vector. And if you've ever shot a real Crisp Vector, the full auto mode on the thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's uncontrollable and makes no sense whatsoever. It's terrible. and it also breaks firing pins like nobody's business, but that's beside the point. However, if you flip that thing to 2-round burst mode, you can, at 100 yards, line up with a standard red dot and squeeze the trigger and get 2 rounds that come out that will both strike a standard size silhouette target at that distance. And that is devastating. That is the equivalency of something like the multi-projectile theory that we use when we talk about shotguns and using double-aught buckshot, for instance. You can find plenty of information out there on why that's a big deal when it comes to like trauma and things like that. We're not going to dig into that here. However, if you take the binary trigger, for instance, you can get a similar effect. And say you shoot 1 round and trap the trigger to the rear, you can then get a very quick double tap follow-up shot simply by letting it out and then slamming the trigger again. So and the reason that works is because on the let out there is spring tension that is allowing the trigger to return back, so you aren't actually pushing the gun around by pulling the trigger. We've all seen that where we're sitting behind the gun and the trigger's too heavy. We can watch the gun creep under high enough magnification. You don't have any of that sort of stuff going on when you're doing the binary return and then smacking the trigger or slapping the trigger a second time. So you can get those really, really quick follow-up shots, and those 2 rounds, I missed most of those rounds, but that's an 8-inch gong at 50 yards, and they're hitting like just around it. If I was shooting that full-size target down there, probably very easily put both those rounds on that target. In fact, why don't we go ahead and close it out trying that. Of course. And there is another downside that definitely makes it not as viable as a real machine gun, and that is because there's no second sear, there's no auto sear in there to delay the hammer from following. While the binary trigger is pretty good at mitigating this, you can still get hammer follow. And what that means, if we just take this apart real quick, come on. So typically what happens when you fire the gun is the hammer falls, impacts the firing pin, the gun then reciprocates back like this, and normally that hammer is going to find the disconnector, and that disconnector keeps it from falling until you let off the trigger, allow it to go to the reset position, and then pull the trigger again, allowing you to fire the next round. Well, in the binary trigger, you can get it just right where you basically beat the mechanism and you get what we call hammer follow. And that looks like this, where the carrier hasn't quite made it home yet, you can see, but the hammer has been disengaged and it basically follows the thing down. So you'll get a non-ignition, which is exactly what happened just a few seconds ago with that whole thing. Now, this has been tuned to mitigate that a fair amount, but it can obviously still happen. But anyway, guys, that is our spiel on the binary RPK. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Again, trying to keep it short, mostly for ammunition consumption reasons, but also because, hey, we're rolling up on summer. We have to start getting shorter with the videos. I know that everybody's time is valuable, and we didn't want to hit you with another 20-minute video like some of our more thorough synopses on like full rifles and things like that. If you do want to see a full video on the AS-10B that we used, then that can be linked in the description box down below, and another video on the binary trigger itself if you want to go check that thing out. So thanks for joining us here today on the VSO Gun Channel, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the video enough to join us for another one here in the future. If you add like a pound for the ammunition, right?
Really? Okay, so here's the second from the last rung. That's what it looks like. With
Yeah.
my finger.
Yeah, so if you added a pound for the ammunition, it'd be perfect, right?
Yeah, probably. You could probably carry it all the way back here like that.
Yeah. It's really well done, actually.
Yeah, it is. That's thought out. I like